Thanks for staying with us. Quite on the set. I just wanted to say I'm really excited about our next guest. His name is Shawn Handlon. Make sure we got the right. And is the co-writer and director of Yes, Weed Can, an original comedy that examines the complex issues of decriminalizing marijuana by telling the stories of three friends, a grower, a user, and a bureaucrat, and of how weed suddenly and suspiciously came to be legal after centuries of use and acceptance. Welcome to the show, Shawn. Right? Welcome to the show, Shawn. Okay. I find this fascinating. You know, the way in which marijuana has been displayed in the media has been, at least it's arguably controversial, but there's a different message, a different way in which it's being shown, and to bring about change, satire and comedy is always one of the more acceptable, or ways to. It's a better strategy sometimes to win with. So I'm fascinated to hear about the Yes We Can as it being a musical and a comedy. Tell us about it.
Well, I think you're exactly right. With complex issues, controversial issues, it is sometimes better to attack it with comedy. Because comedy just by its nature is a little bit disarming, and you add a musical to that as well. I mean, we both the other writer, Jamie Moyer, and I, we came up through the Second City system. And with the Second City, hopefully you're familiar. If not, it's a comedy theater based in Chicago, where a lot of the big comedy powerhouses have gone through: Stephen Colbert, Tina Fey, Steve Carell, all the way back to Belushi and Alan Arkin. So Second City's been around for a while, and satire is their specialty. And what Jamie and I both learned coming up through their system, working on their stages, is that there's no subject that's too taboo as long as it's handled properly, intellectually. And that's sort of the approach that we took with this. In fact, it's one of those things where, both of us obviously do a lot of writing and performing, and one evening after a show had opened, and we were all excited about it, and we were, at the opening party, and we had a few drinks, and she just inadvertently pitched the idea of doing a musical about weed. Well, both of us were really busy, so, and with a lot of bar talk, as you know, it probably never comes to fruition. But then we were working together on a cruise ship last summer, and we were like, let's write it. So, and being that it's especially such a hot topic issue right now with Colorado and Washington legalizing it recreationally, and, states, more and more states looking at it medicinally as well, we thought this would be a great time to attack it. The whole concept being show versus tell, show the impact on various people, various types of people. And especially we were intrigued by, the story of how it came to be illegal so suddenly as well. So we did a little research in that, and, so the story, the basic through line of the show follows an activist who in his state had worked to get medical marijuana approved, and now was focusing on just getting it removed from the banned substances list altogether at a national level, and let the states decide. So it sort of follows his story. And in so doing, we also interweave in that various flashbacks going back all the way to Jamestown initially, when King George insisted that all of the colonists grow it and that they could pay their taxes with it. So we have a brief glimpse. We take a viewpoint on that. And then getting to the notion how George Washington and Thomas Jefferson grew it. Grew hemp, that is, and then getting up to the 30s, the story of Anslinger, and we go on to further hypothesize, as many have, the involvement of DuPont and Hearst and Secretary of Treasurer Mellon, having their influence as well, getting it banned for their own personal reasons, not for any reasons We also explore an early pressure to make it illegal also came from the Southwest, as you know, to get rid of the unwanted growing Mexican population. So we explore that as well. So I mean, but all of it we do within the comedically. We throw some musical numbers in there as well, so it's one of those things where it's not ha ha ha, it's ha ha interesting.
What's the motif of the music? How would you describe it?
The motif of the music, well, with all honesty, each one of the songs, there are 8 original songs in the show. The show's about 90 minutes, and there are 8 original songs. And each one sort of is a little bit different. There's one that's a little psychedelic. There's a couple that are more folky with just some banjo going. There's at least one ballad, because, like any musical, we got to have a love interest. And our particular love interest is with a longtime smoker, and who just decides one day, after waking up on her couch Sunday morning covered in Doritos, that she's just, she's ready to move on, and she gives up. And, it also sort of demonstrates, the fact that, it's not like she woke up and decided to quit heroin, and they're both Schedule 1. They're both equal in the eyes of the law, and yet, the repercussions of deciding one day that you're going to quit weed are completely different from just about any other drug. Cigarettes, right. Alcohol, any of those. So she rekindles a love interest with an old high school friend. And, of course, so they've got a little love ballad. And then, of course, there's, the big opener and the big closer. So, and sort of a rock ballad Act 1 closer. So the musical styles definitely vary. One of my favorite numbers, as a matter of fact, speaking of Anslinger and that whole deal, one of the songs that are sung by the characters of Anslinger and DuPont and Hearst and Mellon, they sing a song where all of the lyrics were taken directly out of Hearst's propaganda campaign. And those, if you look back at them, are comedy. So even things that were, we take things that were presented as fact in 1930, and everyone was like, oh, and now, as we've matured, I suppose, as a culture, we look back at it and it's ridiculous. So that's where a lot of the comedy comes from our historical stuff, is just presenting the facts, and they are inherently comedic. Like when Anslinger said that if the horrible creature Frankenstein came face to face with marijuana, he would drop dead in fright. It's goofy. It's hilarious that was actually presented as an argument against it. So, we take a lot of different, another one of the stories is the grower, who's got a nice little medical marijuana business going, and he actually fears the fact that it could become legal, because then he fears big tobacco will swoop in and, he'll lose his business. So, and that actually sort of transpired in California when they tried to get it legal outright. The growers who were the medicinal growers were like, things are really fine the way they are. We don't really need to change it. So it sort of tackles that aspect as well. We look at the subject from a lot of different perspectives, and we have a lot of fun with it along the way.
Well, I was going to say, it sounds like there's a lot of research that went into this to get the history and to be able to utilize the content in a comedic way, like you said. tell our listeners is in the comedy world, Second City, everybody knows what that is. Obviously, there's a lot of brilliant people that have come out of that environment. Is it fair to say that cannabis use is prevalent amongst comedians? Is it something that is,
I've seen a joint or two smoked at a party. I would say it's. I wouldn't say it's prevalent, probably any more so than anywhere else. Even when I used to work at a bank, and I knew just as many people who worked at the bank who were smokers as well. And that's kind of the point of this thing as well. Marijuana users are frequently portrayed as losers, and they're not. They're lawyers and doctors and even people in our government. So that's another approach. That's another point the show tries to make as well. Is that in fact that's one of the lyrics in one of the songs. Not every user is a loser. So that's so we try and tackle the issue from as many different perspectives as we possibly could squeeze into a single 90-minute 2-act show.
Right. That's interesting. Is there another? So you've got all sides of it. Of course, you've got the opponents and you've got the proponents and the tragedy and the comedy. What's been the reaction? I mean, and
a love story. And a love story.
What kind of reaction are you getting? Like, where's the play? It's playing at this one theater right now. Is this its first? How long it's been going on for?
The world premiere is March 7th, and it's going to be playing weekends through March at a little theater in Hamtramck called the Planet Ant. And you can find us at planetant.com. And you can get all kinds of information there, buy tickets if you want. But yeah, this is the world premiere, and so we've never shown it to people before. That said, we did have a staged reading of it for some people we know that went very well earlier in the fall. All of the design, all of our lighting designer and the choreography and everyone who seems to be getting involved with it is really excited about the concept. Is really excited about the project. I've been writing shows in Detroit since 1999. So they say how you work. You need 10,000 hours to really be solid at something. So, I mean, I've certainly put in my 10,000 hours, and I really feel that this show reflects 10,000 hours of comedy training.
Let me ask you this. Because we were, I agree with you. I love, of course, it's brilliant. It's, I hope 1 million people see it. And, but we've talked, we've got this show that's, we're doing now it's a lot of talking and a lot of political and stuff. But I always thought it'd be great if we had some satire, we had some characters that were playing it just to kind of make the points. Is there anyone that, any characters you didn't use in the play or, on the cutting room floor of other, satirical figures that are, could be used in if you care to share, or, you know what I'm saying? Just other ways to, make the case of some of the people that are left out, maybe the president.
Yeah, potentially, for sure.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just meant you probably had to make some selections of some of the stuff that went into the play or not, or stories that got cut, or or.
So I'm just curious. So do you mean I guess I'm confused by the question. What would these characters be needed for?
No, I was just saying, is there anyone that you think of another satirical character that exists for, just for purposes of how ridiculous things are. Other, for purposes of the medical marijuana, reform of what's taking place. Different characters that exist in the everyday media and government that.
That could be in a show like this.
Yeah.
What types of people? Probably Michelle. Someone like the likes of Michelle Bachmann would probably be a very entertaining type character. I think in fact one of my favorite ones I would actually end up using is Nixon, for instance. But I guess Nancy Reagan probably could have gotten in there too at some point. Jimmy Carter probably could have gotten in there too at some point.
All the presidents have all been marijuana smokers, and had they been arrested,
crazy stuff about.
And Jimmy Carter, I think,
you want to reform it. Yeah.
His presidency, he was really in favor of reforming it and decriminalizing. But a lot of other crazy stuff happened in his presidency, and he just sort of lost control there.
I remember.
Then, of course, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I remember there was early on in the Romney-Obama campaign, Mitt Romney dropped down in Colorado. He was interviewed on the tarmac, what are your thoughts about medical marijuana legalization? He goes, can't we talk about some important issues? It was and look where it is now, but something to that effect. He's but it was clearly he missed it. But even though, I think Obama's been slow to come around, he's, you can love or hate him for whatever reasons. I think that
he's made some great statements recently.
Recently, he's come around a little bit, and he had to make it to this. Whatever. I'm not defending him or advocating for him. I'm just saying it, could have been, there's some better talk than it was before.
Better talk than we've had from any other president. Ever.
Absolutely, and possibly ever. Who knows?
Yep. And of course, it makes a lot of sense to wait until your second term to make big controversial statements about marijuana. But by the same token, he's got Eric Holder making similar decisions, and now they're going to ease up on banking. And after they've seen Colorado go through pretty much a danger-free entry into the recreational or personal use market. I mean, man, how could you not want to get on board with this and be considered the guy who did it?
I saw you might get a kick out of this. Rick had posted something where they had hearings. Where were they? There were some hearings about some legalization or medical marijuana, and some deputy gave testimony from an Onion article that 37 people had died.
Oh, yeah.
When they was giving real testimony, misread it, didn't get it, it just testified.
Thought it was real.
It was
hilarious.
It is funny, isn't it?
Yes, but the cops are so eager to jump on anything that looks negative that they'll even take something that's obviously incorrect. Of course, now I saw a lot of people on Facebook that got fooled by that, but I would think that someone in a position of speaking to media on behalf of the police department would know not to trust stuff he reads on the internet,
There's still a huge disconnect. There's a big disconnect. I mean, you agree with that. I mean, going back, and I imagine a lot of the other issue historically is I think this forfeiture reform, or forfeiture generally, and how many of these agencies that are driving the war on drugs are funded by the forfeiture laws, and they have incentives to, and marijuana is always, it's the lowest hanging fruit, unquestionably. There's no violence.
Because you can smell it.
Smell it in the car. You can smell, it's just always
easy to find.
Easy to find. The people don't, they're generally harmless.
Yeah.
So, but it's been a fun project. It's been a really rewarding project. I'm excited to put it up in front of people and see what kind of feedback we get.
Why don't you tell us again? What are the dates it's going to be showing?
It runs weekends March 7th through March 29th. And maybe all these people we're talking about, maybe they can be in the sequel if it goes well.
Sounds fantastic.
Sounds great.
I really want to, compliment you. It's a great concept, and I hope a bunch of people see it. And I appreciate you coming on the show. Any other final thoughts? Anything in terms of?
You know,
yes,
I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting. You know, with Obama talking about it, and I think it's gaining a momentum. And you know, for the first time, it's actually the majority of people in polls, you know, are in favor of decriminalizing it. And I think we got a good momentum going on our side. And you know, and I think that's exciting. You know, I'm excited if my show, in even the smallest way, helps to keep that momentum going forward. So
it's an ongoing
I
story.
guess that's my final thought.
Sure,
It's an
there's
ongoing saga.
Yeah.
Lots more comedy left in the future.
Yep.
You gotta laugh to keep from crying about it, I guess. It's the most important part, right?
Unfortunately.
All right, well, listen, thank you very much for coming. It was a pleasure talking to you. You sound like a really funny person, and I'm sure the musical comedy is going to be fantastic, and we'll encourage our listeners to go see it. Shawn Handlon, co-writer and director of Yes, Weed Can. Go see it, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Shawn.
All right, thanks a lot for having me on the air, fellas. I really appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Peace.
Have a good night.
Bye.
All right.